and welcome to the fourth tutorial in the Paltalk tutorial series. In this tutorial, I know we did say we weren't going to go on about handles again, but this is the last one. We're going to do it in Delphi, and then after that, that's it. And we'll move on to sending and getting text. The reason why I've decided to do one more on this is just so you guys can make an enumeration function by yourselves and not having to rely on external DLLs. So to start off with, we'll create a new form, and you can do this in any language, it's just different syntax, that's all. One of the things we'll need to display our handles, well, the idea is we're going to enumerate through all the top level Paltalk windows that we have open, and then for each of those top levels we're going to enumerate through all the child handles and finding our outgoing handle, our incoming handle, and our nick list handle, the three handles that we use most when we're doing Paltalk programming. So we'll have a list view, and in that list view we can put all the information that we get. So I'll just set that to, set a few anchors on that so we can expand it. So now we should be fine there. Just add a button. Give this a name. You know, when you add any components, always give it a meaningful name. I mean, it doesn't have to be blatantly obvious, but something that you can identify it with. So we're going to call this list view WinInfo, and we'll call this button refresh. So one of the things that we're going to do a little bit differently here is we're going to enumerate through the top level and the child handles once instead of multiple times for each handle. We'll do it in one go, get all the information we need, and then pass it back to this list view here so we can see what we get. And to do that, we're going to have some sort of, well, let's save the project out first. Yeah, anyway, to do that, we're going to have some sort of record or a container which holds all three handles and some other information if we needed it. So we saved out a project, and the first thing I'm going to do is make a new type, and we can call it tPowerWinInfo, and it's a record. This is a structure in any other language, I guess. And some of the things that this structure is going to hold will be the title of the room that we've enumerated through. That will be a string, of course. The handle to the main window. Now I'm going to pass this as an integer instead of a handle. Stuff it, we'll go with a handle. I was going to pass it as an integer. Changed my mind. And what else we need? We need the outgoing handle. We need the incoming handle. We need the nick list handle. And one of the other things we can do while we're enumerating through all the top level and the child handles is determine whether it is a room or a PM window. And the difference between a room and a PM window is, of course, the nick list. So we can check if we get a valid handle of the nick list. If we don't, it's obviously a PM. If we do, it's a room handle. Well, it's a room. So we can make a Boolean type here and set it to false to start with. What else do we need? So we have this container or structure, or in this instance a record, that holds all this information for us. But if we're going to be doing multiple rooms in one go, we want to have a container which holds multiple of these containers, and we can call that an array. So we can make another type. Actually, let's just declare that as a variable. I won't turn it into a type yet. Put it down here. So we can call it an array of PowerWinInfo is an array of tPowerInfo. The reason I mean, we could put it as a class, we could put it as a type, we could put this Paltalk window info as a class, and then make a new type of a list of objects. But you know, that's getting too much into it. So for this example, we're just going to have an array, and because we have an array, we're going to have to manage it ourselves, which means we're going to have to free it when we create it. So the first thing we're going to do is on the close event, or let's make it on the destroy event. So we can put if our array is different to nil, meaning that if it has one of these records in there, we can free and nil the array. Or we could also do equals 0, we'll do the same thing. Or another thing we could do is any of these three will work. Let's do free and nil. Now let's do 0, because that probably be more compatible in .NET. So when the form's destroyed, it will take all the elements in this array, which is of these records here, and 0 them out, so we're not getting any memory loss or leakage of memory. So I guess the first thing we want to do, because we have a list view here, we want to make a function to add, well actually let's add the columns that we're going to be using. So this one here, we can put the title. This one here, you can put the main handle. This one here, we can have the, let's see, incoming handle. This one here, we can have the outgoing handle. And nick list and the room type. Handle. Room type. Now we're going to have to set this view style to report, so we actually get to see them. And then we have them. Let's just make this a little bit bigger. Make these 80. Should make them 100. So we've set up our list view, and like I said, we're going to have to make a function to add each of the items in. So let's make a function here. We can either, let's do it here in Delphi, we can easily do it here by, let's call it a procedure. Add to this view, and the input will be one of these tpower window info types. Power info, and the type that we're passing to it will be a record of tpower wininfo, and Control Shift C to create that. And we can go with this view, what did we call it again? Wininfo dot items, add, do begin and end in Delphi. So the caption is going to equal the title, sub item, add the problem here, it's a handle type, so we're going to have to convert that to a string in a minute. Just copy these. So you've got the main handle, incoming, the outgoing, nick list, and we'll do an if statement there, I think. Let's make that the incoming, because I think that's the order that we had it. Outgoing, nick list, is room. We can't set that to false by the looks of it. So now it should, once we fill one of these records, once we call this procedure here, it should fill in that record. So I guess our next job is to create the enumeration by clicking this one. On the mouse button click, you can do in Windows. Now we need a pointer to a function, so we're going to have to make our function. And I already know, and we've talked about this before, what the enumproc, like the procedure, what it's meant to look like. It does take in a handle, and it also takes in a parameter of your choice. And it returns a bool. And in Delphi, we're going to have to call that stand call. Okay, now we're right. So now we can pass this pointer and we'll just, the parameter will be 0 for this demonstration. But like I said before, if we had a class, we could pass the class to it and work it from there. Or we could, something like that. Once we have that, we can, I guess we can make the procedure. So we've called the enumerate Windows proc. The first thing we want to do is get all the class names. And once we have all the class names, we want to compare it to the Paltalk class name, which I better load up now. So we've checked this window with this handle spy here, and we're going to be looking for window classes that match that. Let's go back to our code. So we can say if, let's make a function to get our class name. Function get class, and it will take in a handle, and it will return a string. One thing with calling get window class, is that we need to set the result, or get class name I think it is. So we're going to have to set the length first of result. Let's set it at 255 for now, and then we'll do what should we do here, result. Now we'll set it at the correct amount, because we'll be calling get class name. This actually returns the length. Handle. Now that should return our string. So now we can come down here. The string will be the class name, of course. Get class handle. If that equals obviously the window class here, and the voice rooms, text rooms, PM windows all have the same class name, then we can begin and end. So start a new block of code here. So if this condition is met, the first thing we want to do is check our array. So if it's if it's got something in it already, we add to it. If it hasn't, we've got to create it. So if power info different to nil, then set the length of our info. The length will be the length of it plus 1, I guess. Now info plus 1. Simple as that. Else we have to set it. So we can use so we're saying if it's different to nil, meaning it has something in it already, we're going to set the length of it plus 1. Else it's obviously nil, which means we have to set the length to 1, because it will be the first one in the array. Now we have that, we can we need the array, of course, will be what this here is doing is basically just getting the last element, the last record in the array, because what I'm doing is pred minus, well, when you say the length and we had 4 records, say, the length will come back as 4, but it's 0 based index, so we have to reduce it. So that's why I put the pred in front of there. And now we can have access to that one. So we can, the title, I guess we can make a function for that too. function get title, and it will take in a handle, and it will return a string. And once again, we'll have to set the length of the result to 255 characters. And now we can do set length again, result, and then we can call our get window text, a handle each result. I'm sure there's easier ways to do this in .NET. Now that should do the trick. So now we've set the element that we're up to, we've set the title, or the record that we're up to, we've set the title. The next thing we want to do, I guess we can set the handle now. So we'll use this. It's obviously the current handle that we're at. So we set the handle, and now we have those two. We can go ahead and call EnuChildWindows, and the top level handle will be the one that we have enumerated through. The pointer to the function. So now we're going to have to make a function for it, our enum function. And it's the same as this. It takes returns a handle. So now we're in here, we've got to decide what we're going to do. So let's set that up properly first. Once again, we could pass it our class if we made a class, and we could typecast it here and then work with it like that. So here we're going to decide, we talked about in the last series, the get dialog control ID. So we're going to use that in this tutorial here to get the correct ones. So I guess we can write actually, let's do this a different way. We talked about if is window visible also in the last tutorials. So we know that 202 is our outgoing, 203 is our incoming, and I think it was 1789. Just check that. So we've got our outgoing, or incoming, sorry, 202. We've got our outgoing, 203, and our nick list, 1789. So we're going to first check if the window is visible. If it is, then we're going to get the dialog control ID, and if it matches any of these, we're going to do something with it. We're going to add it to our array element. So the incoming and the outgoing, and the nick list, just format that a little bit better. So it's a switch statement in .NET. I think they use switch. So we have that. One other thing we want to do is when it enumerates all the child, the last one that will be enumerated out of these three will be this one. So if that's the case, we can stop the enumeration by going, because we don't need to enumerate any longer. We also need to continue it. So same with this one. So all this is saying is continue enumeration. So this will enumerate all the top level windows. While it's enumerating all the top level windows, if the class matches this class, it will add a new element to our array, which is the element being the record, which holds all our info. Split that up there so you can see it a bit better. Then we'll set the title, then we'll set the handle, and then we'll call enumerate child windows. And we'll enumerate through all the children until it's visible. If one of the children is visible and the dialog control ID equals any of these, it will add accordingly. Being this one the last one that gets enumerated, we can set it to result to stop the enumeration. And this one here, we can also, if it does have a nick list handle, and then we can set this one to true. So basically what happens here, if this one is found and it's been set, then we can say that it is a room because PMs don't have a nick list. And that should just about do it, I'd say. One other thing we can do before we call the enumerating windows is clean up our array and empty our list view. So let's make a new function or procedure. We'll call it cleanup, and it doesn't need to take in any variables. And in the cleanup we can go, once again, only if the array has elements in it, which is our record once again, then we can free it. Once again, we want to clear out the list view. And that should do it. So now we can call cleanup here. So we clean it all up. Then we enumerate through the windows, and once the enumeration process is completed, we want to call our function we made earlier. But this takes in only the record type, and we have an array. So what we're going to have to do is loop through all the arrays. So we can say for I equals low, our win info to obviously high, our win info, and we call our function. For that particular record. So just all we're doing here is looping through. You could say I equals 0 to length of the array, and for each array we call it, to add in the record that we have. I think that should just about do it. Hopefully, let's try that and see what happens. So we'll save it out. How many errors have we got? 2 warnings. What have we got here? Ah, yes, we forgot to convert that to string. Now, this is a Boolean, so let's make a string here. Let's deal with that separately. So we can say if there's room, then if the element in our array has been set to true, then we can say this room will equal room, else this room is equal to PM. Let's do that up here. Let's do that one of the first things we set. So now we can just add it as a string. So basically what we're doing is we're checking the record, this value here, if it's been set to true, that means it's a room. If not, it's a PM, this string. And then from that we can add the string into our room type. So refresh, and then we have in fact the room with all the handles and the type. So let's start a PM. And then you have it. As you can see, the nick list handle is 0 because there is no nick list. Let's do a few rooms. So we've got a few rooms there. As you can see, we have all the rooms. That's basically all I wanted to show you today. We'll just recap through it. So we have a list view which holds all our info. When we hit the button here, we call the cleanup. Cleanup here is checking our array of records to make sure it's empty. If it's not empty, we empty it there. And we've got a warning here, convert to nil. So let's just change that to nil. keep the compiler happy. So anyway, we've done that, and then we've cleared the list view. So get rid of all the items that were previously in there, if there was any. And then after that we call Enumwindows, and here we set the result to true, which means that as long as that result equals true, it will continue enumerating through all the top level windows. If any of the top level windows equals this class name, has this class name because we made a function to return the class name as a string, then we start and process it. And the way we start off processing it is to see if an array has any items in it. If it already has an item in it, we're going to make a new item, so the length of the array plus 1. If it doesn't have any items, we're going to set the length to just 1. Once we have that, we set the length of the array, or the item number of the array, which would be the last item in the array, the last record in the array. We're going to set the title. We've made a function to get the window title. And then we're going to set the main handle, which is the handle which is called back here in our callback. And then we're going to enumerate through all the child windows of that top level handle. Obviously it matches that, so once we have that, we're going to set the enumerating child callback to true, so we'll enumerate continuously until a window is visible, and then if it is visible, we'll get the control ID, and if it matches any of these, it will start from here. It will enumerate that one first, that one second, and that one third. So if the control ID matches any of these, it will add it accordingly there. And this one being the last one being enumerated, we can set the enumeration to false. So next time when this function ends, false means that it will not be called again. So we're not wasting valuable time, processing time. Not that it will matter, it's nanoseconds anyway. When this one is set, we also set the room is true. So it is a room until it, if that one never got called, for example, if it's a PM, this will never be set, neither will this, it will be 0. And that's about it. That's it for this tutorial. The next tutorial will be looking at sending and getting text from the rooms, and I promise that is the last of it. So see you then.